Welcome to the Coffee House, where we discuss board games, miniatures, and painting them, not necessarily in that order. If any of those things appeal to you and you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that button down below. Let's dive into today's episode. Alright guys, so we made it. We painted our way through all of the enemies in the core box. It is now time to start tackling those pesky, great old ones that we're going to face. So we're going to start off with my personal favorite, Hastur. No special techniques really of note. However, this is a super detailed model. There's a lot of crevices, there's a lot of tentacles to paint through, between, underneath. Getting full coverage is tricky, just like it was on the Chthonian. Once again, you're going to be painting this model and you're going to be just about done. You're going to be like, oh, I missed that spot. Oh, I missed this spot. Gosh, how do I get my brush in there? It's all good. Just something I wanted to make note of so that you are prepared kind of to deal with those annoyances. One other thing I want to touch on is, just like the Chthonian, this model sucks up a lot of paint, particularly when you're doing all those tentacles and crevices and things of that nature. But other than that, there's nothing really to make note of, so I'm going to stop rambling and we're going to dive in. So we're going to start with the Disciples. We have them primed 100% coverage in gray, and we're going to start with some Hive Dweller purple. The reason we're going to start with this is because we're going to get the inside of this neck area here, and we're starting here because it is likely that you are going to get some of that purple on the robe itself. So we're going to start in there so that if you do make a mistake, you can clean it up nice and easy before we start coloring those robes. So you're going to get this sleeve right here with that Hive Dweller purple. Make sure you get all sides, and then we're going to move over to the other arm and get the little bit along the wrist that is creeping out from under the robe as well. In addition to that, on both sides of the robe is an opening, and we're going to put that Hive Dweller purple in that opening as well. Sort of the under robe for the robe, if you will. You can see primarily I am stroking my brush upwards. This is to prevent excess pooling along the bottom. We're going to move on to Ancient Honey, and we're going to start working on the main robes. And again, you can see primarily I am stroking upwards. And again, this is to prevent excess pooling along the bottom. If you have too much paint that pools on the bottom, as it dries, it'll kind of leave a unnatural looking globby mess. So if you're stroking upwards, as the paint slowly rolls down, it dries as it's rolling down, preventing too much excess buildup. And we're just going to cover this entire robe in this Ancient Honey. Front, back, sleeves, side, hood, all of it. Don't worry about the necklace, go ahead and cover it. Do your best to avoid the gun. Beautiful. Alright, so now we're going to do my flesh combination, which is 2 drops of Peachy Flesh for 1 drop of Crusader Skin. This creates a more natural tone in my opinion. It's my favorite flesh recipe for Caucasian skin. So you're going to get the cheeks, the mouth, the nose, and then we're going to dot the eyes. Take extra care around the nose, really make sure you get a good amount of paint on there. Because the noses on these models in particular, the paint really likes to roll off of them. Go ahead and get the hands, and make sure you get that trigger finger. And the other hand, paying special attention to that thumb. You really want to make sure you get paint on that thumb. And then these horribly sculpted heels, we're going to go ahead and get the top portion, those feet that are sticking out. The sculpt is not super sharp in definition on the feet, and in all honesty, you could paint the whole thing black if you wanted to and no one would notice. So now we're going to take some Grim Black and we're going to go ahead and apply that to the Tommy gun. The entirety of the Tommy gun. Be as careful as you can along the body. Paint will easily pool from the Tommy gun onto the robes. It's not a huge deal if it does, you can always fix it, but just try to be as careful as you can. Same thing with the butt of the gun. And we'll go ahead and paint the rest of those heels, and again, if you don't want to fuss with the flesh on the feet, you could do the whole thing black. Nobody's going to notice. We're going to take some oak brown and we're going to pick out the hair. There's a couple tufts sticking out of the top, and then there's a tuft on either side. Just let the paint do the work, let the brush do the work. No pressure at all on your end. Beautiful. So now we're going to move on to plate mail metal, and we are going to touch up the mask that they are wearing. And again, same thing, let the paint do the work, let the brush do the work. You need no pressure on your end. Just glide it along the model and let your tools do the rest. A little goes a long way when it comes to metallics. We're going to dab the beads of the necklace with that oak brown, and then we're going to switch to matte white, and we're going to pick out the details of that necklace. And again, I keep saying it, but let the paint do the work, let the brush do the work. No pressure applied on your end. Just glide it along and let your tools do the job for you. And your end result should look something like this. Of course, black the base and the rim, per usual. And now we're just going to dive right into Hastur. Again, primed in all gray, 100% coverage. This is a big, beefy, chunky model. So we're going to tackle these tentacles with mummified grime, mixed with algae green. The ratio that we are looking for, excuse me, the ratio that we are looking for is about 8 drops of mummified green and 2 drops of algae green. So it's an 8-to-2 ratio. You're probably going to have to do this a couple times because of all the details on this model. It's going to suck up a lot of paint. And I do mean a lot of paint. Getting full coverage on this thing is a pain in the butt because of all the nooks and crannies and sides, and it's going to take you a while. This took me about 30 minutes total just to do this squid tentacle part. Fortunately, through the magic of editing, you're not going to have to sit through that, but I just wanted to show you. I mean, I'm constantly moving the model, I'm constantly angling my brush, moving my brush. Get as much paint on that brush as you possibly can. Don't worry about messing up, don't worry about hitting the teeth on there, just cover the whole thing. We can pick out the teeth later. Anything that you might accidentally mess up is easily fixable. You just want to do everything you can to get that full coverage on this section of the model. There's a lot of little details on here too, where those tentacles go into and out of. Just something to be mindful of. Don't be afraid to move the model. You're going to want to rotate and flip upside down and twist and turn and go all over the place. Again, don't be afraid to move the model. They're supposed to be moved while you're painting them. So now we're going to do those balls that are around him. So we're going to do a mixture of that bright red and zealous yellow. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the entirety of these orbs or balls or whatever you want to call them in the bright red. So you're going to get that bright red all over it. And then while it's still wet, we're going to apply that zealot yellow in the vein area. And then we're going to let the paint that's still wet, we're going to let it do the work for us. Just kind of spread it out over those veins, in between the veins. Don't be shy with it. And we're going to repeat this process on every single one of these. The bright red first, and then while it's still wet, the zealot yellow over the veins. It's going to create a nice little glow effect for us. So now we're going to do Hastur's skin himself. So first we're going to apply a base of Crusader skin, and then while that's wet, we're going to dab it with the purple alchemy, which you'll see here. So go pretty heavy with this Crusader skin first. Make sure you get every inch of surface. The hands, chest and face. Now we're going to take that purple alchemy while it's still wet, and we're going to dab all around it. Make sure you get a good amount in the center hole of the face though. And then I'm just kind of dabbing and dipping my brush with the purple alchemy across the rest of it. And because all this paint is still wet, it's going to merge together and create a nice little nasty effect. Now, just like his disciples, we're going to paint his robes in ancient honey. Be generous with your application here as well. Get in all those nooks and crannies and crevices. 100% coverage on these robes with the ancient honey. Now there's little hidden tentacles along his body and sticking out of the robes, so I'm going to take my ash gray and matte white corrective mixture, the 1-to-1 blend, and I'm going to go ahead and pick out those tentacles protruding from his body. They're sneaky, easy to miss. That's why I'm showing you where they are right now. And you don't need a lot of paint here, you don't need a lot of coverage. Just enough for that mummified grime to stick to. So we're going to go over it obviously with the mummified grime, like we did with the rest of the tentacles. That mummified grime algae green mixture. Now for the fun part, we're going to take some ice yellow. We're going to highlight those veins on those orbs or balls or whatever you want to call them. I know I keep saying it, but again, no pressure on your end. faintest amount of paint on the tip of the brush, let the paint do the work, let the brush do the work. From there, we're going to move on to the ancient stone, and we're going to start picking out all of the teeth that we previously painted over. Now, once this step is done, I chose not to because I wanted the teeth to really stand out and not get lost amongst the rest of the color. But once you pick out the teeth with the ancient stone, you're more than welcome to, once it dries, go over it with bony matter or pallid bone or some kind of bony color to kind of dull it and bring a more naturalized look to it. However, I chose not to because I like the contrast of the teeth sticking out and being easily visible. This is strictly your preference. Once all that's done, he's going to look something like this. Isn't that nasty? And then of course we're going to take our matte black and we're going to black out the base and rim the base in that. And if you paint it along, follow it along, your models are going to end up looking something along these lines. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I love this model. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I hope that you're painting along and you feel the same way as well. How's your painting progress going, guys? You are following along, right? This is encouraging you to paint. And more importantly, you are having fun, correct? I sure hope so, because I am. If you are having fun and if you are following along, consider checking out my Patreon link down below. For about the price of a cup of coffee every month, you help me keep my lights on and these videos a-flowing. I sincerely appreciate my top tier patrons, Tyler, Dan, Steven, JB. You guys are my heroes. Couldn't do it without you, so thank you so much again. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.